We as human beings have a rhythm to our lives. We work and then we rest. God did the same thing at creation. He worked and then He rested. Likewise, Jesus completed His finished work on the cross and through the resurrection, and now He is seated, resting at the right hand of God. We're invited to rest with Him in all that He accomplished. The natural rhythm of work being accomplished and then resting is even seen in Ecclesiastes.
There is nothing better for a man than that he should eat and drink and make his soul enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw, that it is from the hand of God. Ecclesiastes 2:24.
Hello, I'm Dr. Andrew Farley with today's episode of the Heartbeat of Faith podcast. Today we begin focusing on things that God truly cares about. And there's no mistaking God's deep desire for us to rest. God's emphasis on our need for rest is displayed in the very beginning, when God instituted a day of rest after creation.
God had taken the chaotic void and inserted purpose. The heavens and the earth were filled, and His piece of art was complete. So on the seventh day, God paused to enjoy what He had done. So He blessed the seventh day and made it holy.
God also instructed Israel to rest in the Ten Commandments. He saw the Sabbath rest as important enough to put alongside other commands, such as those against lying, adultery, and murder.
I am the Lord your God. I am the one who delivered you out of slavery from the land of Egypt. You shall have no other gods but me. You shall not make any idols, no carved images of anything that is below or above the earth. Do not bow to them or serve them, for I alone am your God. I am a jealous God, showing myself to generations of those who hated me. But I show steadfast love always, and show love to those who keep me and my commandments. You shall not take my name in vain, for I am the Lord, and I will hold him guilty if he takes my name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day. Keep it special and holy. Labor and work hard for 6 days, but on the seventh day you should rest. Sabbath and rest in for me. Enjoy me. You nor your children, servants, or livestock should labor. For I created all things in 6 days, and on the seventh I enjoyed the fruit of my labor. Honor your father and your mother. If you do, your days shall be long in the land I have given you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not lie against your neighbor and bear false witness. You shall not covet and seek after your neighbor's possessions or relationships.
So important was Sabbath rest to God that in His law He established a Sabbath year, in which on the seventh year everybody took a year to rest from the plow, the rich and the poor, and even the animals that worked the field.
Yahweh said to Moses on Mount Sinai, "Speak to the children of Israel, and tell them, when you come into the land which I give you, then the land shall keep a Sabbath to Yahweh. You shall sow your field 6 years, and you shall prune your vineyard 6 years, and gather in its fruits. But in the seventh year there shall be a Sabbath of solemn rest for the land, a Sabbath to Yahweh. You shall not sow your field, or prune your vineyard. What grows of itself in your harvest you shall not reap, and you shall not gather the grapes of your undressed vine. It shall be a year of solemn rest for the land. The Sabbath of the land shall be for food for you, for yourself, for your servant, for your maid, for your hired servant, and for your stranger who lives as a foreigner with you. For your livestock also, and for the animals that are on your land, shall all its increase be for food. Leviticus 25, 1-7.
Something this significant carries some weight of importance, right? God isn't flippant with these things. So why was there such an emphasis on Sabbath rest? What was God trying to communicate about himself and his heart for his people? First, in order to understand the significance of the Old Testament Sabbath and its connection to the rest we have in Christ today, we've gone back to the very beginning. After God created the world, he declared his work to be good, and on the seventh day he rested. This act of resting was not because God was tired, but rather to signify the completion and perfection of his creation. Fast forward to the time of Israel, and we see that God commanded them to observe the Sabbath day as a symbol and reminder of his rest. It was a day set apart for rest and worship, a shadow of the spiritual rest that was to come through Christ. However, the true and ultimate rest we find today is not in observing a Sabbath, but in resting in Jesus himself. You see, the heart of the gospel is the message of total forgiveness, living under God's grace, and experiencing perfect union with Jesus. Through his finished work on the cross and the resurrection, Jesus has accomplished everything needed for our salvation. We no longer have to strive to earn God's favor through religious works or acrobatics. Instead, we can simply rest in the truth that it is finished. Now, this rest is not a passive rest, but an active trust and dependence on Christ. It's a rest that comes from knowing we are righteous by faith, not by our own works. It's a rest that allows us to let go of our burdens and find freedom from fear, guilt, and legalism. In Matthew 11, Jesus invites us to come to him, all who are weary and burdened, and he promises to give us rest for our souls. Remember, we as human beings have a rhythm to our lives. We work, and then we rest. God did the same thing at creation. He worked, and then he rested. Likewise, Jesus completed his finished work on the cross and through the resurrection, and now he's seated, resting at the right hand of God. And we're invited to rest with him in all he accomplished, the natural rhythm of work being accomplished and then resting is even seen in Ecclesiastes.
Therefore I began to cause my heart to despair, concerning all the labor in which I had labored under the sun. For there is a man whose labor is with wisdom, with knowledge, and with skillfulness. Yet he shall leave it for his portion to a man who has not labored for it. This also is vanity, and a great evil. For what does a man have of all his labor, and of the striving of his heart, in which he labors under the sun? For all his days are sorrows, and his travail is grief. Yes, even in the night his heart takes no rest. This also is vanity. There is nothing better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and make his soul enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw, that it is from the hand of God. Ecclesiastes 2:20-24.
Ecclesiastes is saying, what good is all this work if you don't even enjoy what it brings you? And there's an obvious parallel with the profound truth of resting in the finished work of Christ and how it transforms our lives today. In Hebrews 4:3, we're reminded that as believers, we've already entered into God's rest. It's not something that we strive to attain, but rather a reality we embrace through faith in Jesus. Some characterize God's grace as easy believism, which should actually be a badge of honor, not a criticism. After all, Jesus himself said connection with him would be easy and light. Yes, he said it would be easy because he's done all the work for us. We get to be one with him for free. Plus, he said whoever believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life. So clearly, the gospel brings us a relationship with Jesus that is both easy and believism. No, life in this world is not easy, but our beautiful bond with Jesus Christ is a free gift by faith. It's both easy and believism. Lastly, when we truly grasp the depths of God's love and the completeness of our forgiveness in Christ, we can rest in His finished work. It's from this place of rest that the fruit of the Spirit naturally flows. Think about it: love, peace, joy, patience, and all the other attributes of the Spirit are not produced through striving and self-effort, but through resting and enjoying Christ's presence within us and allowing His life to flow through us.
It was the Sabbath, and Jesus entered the synagogue to worship. The Sabbath was a time for contemplation and relaxation. It was established by God for the purpose of pausing work to rest in Him. Some of His critics were in attendance as well, waiting for any cause to rebuke Him. As Jesus entered, He saw a man with a withered hand. The Pharisees watched Jesus closely as He approached the man. They were waiting for Him to heal him. They were waiting for Him to break the Sabbath law and work. Jesus knew their hearts. They had completely missed the point. He took the man with the withered hand and looked at the Pharisees. "Tell me," Jesus said, "is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath? If there is someone in need, should we let them pass? What if their life is in danger? Should we let them die?" The men were silent, for Jesus was revealing their legalistic hearts. They didn't care about people. They only cared about looking righteous. "Stretch out your hand," Jesus said to the man. And in that moment, the man's hand was restored. Everyone marveled and rejoiced, but the Pharisees left and gathered together, seeking for an opportunity to destroy Him.
Ultimately, Jesus is our only true rest, and the good news of the gospel puts us at ease and frees us from spiritual stress and anxiety. Let us rest in the finished work of Christ, knowing that we're complete in Him and that He has made us one with Him. From this place of rest, we can bear fruit, live in freedom, and experience the abundant life that Jesus has promised. Resting in Christ is the natural result of getting to know how amazing the gospel really is. So, don't make resting in Christ into some sort of work. Remember, the religious leaders in Jesus' day tried to make the Sabbath a religious practice, but Jesus continually rebuked them and reminded them that even the Old Testament Sabbath was for benefit, not for bondage. I hope you enjoy rest today, not just a physical break, but as a deep spiritual reality. May you find peace in knowing that through Christ's finished work, you're forgiven, cleansed, and in perfect union with Him. As you rest in His grace, may you experience the freedom to bear fruit and enjoy the abundant life He promised. Remember, the gospel is not about striving or earning, but about embracing the truth that Jesus has done it all. So, rest in His love, walk in His grace, and live in the fullness of the rest that is found in Christ alone. Thank you for listening to the Heartbeat of Faith podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and let us know how this series has impacted your life. Remember to download the pray.com app. And for more encouragement in God's grace, visit andrewfarley.org. That's andrewfarley.org.
America's federal debt just reached $33 trillion, and many economists predict the weight of this crippling debt load will soon topple the whole financial system. Concerned Americans are diversifying their assets into physical gold with the help of Birch Gold Group. If you want a physical asset held in a tax-sheltered retirement account, you should call Birch Gold too. But learn for yourself. Text the word heartbeat to 989898. And they'll send you a free info kit on gold. If you have an IRA or a 401k from a previous employer just gathering dust, Birch Gold can help you convert it into an IRA in gold. And you don't have to pay a penny out of pocket. Text Heartbeat to the number 989898 to claim your free info kit on gold. There's no cost or obligation, so do it now. Text Heartbeat to 989898.